Part 2, the reinstallation of the cat on this here Transit van 2018, 2017, something like that. There's the new cat. It's actually a particulate filter. Here's the old one. And these are TGRs. They're temperature electronic sensors of some sort. And there's the one I was waiting for. Part came in this morning, and I had to put a new stud in the turbocharger there because the stud came out when I tried to remove the nut. So I had to reinstall that stud with my snap-on wrench here, which going from off to on, here we go. This is another great tool in order to reach the tight places and tightening up them bolts on the turbocharger, torquing them down. That is available in the description. It helps the channel. You can buy tools right here in the video that will help with this job. That also I was able to use a breaker bar. I was getting it off, but also getting it back on. Was able to reach it with my ratchet. And here it is. I've installed it. Didn't show that part, but you get the idea. It goes on the same way it came down. Bolted it all up, and this is where that downstream TGR sensor goes. And there it is. And now we are going to stitch it back together. Well, I've got my doctor coat on. Oh, I did. This is the vapor tube that goes from the cat itself to the DEF tank, and that is a very important piece of technology right there, and not to get damaged or pinched in any way, shape, or form. So I had to be very mindful of this little device here, because without that, it's going to throw code, because the DEF tank isn't doing its job in cleaning the diesel. Now, here's this. I had to get it when I jacked it up to go the right direction. This is the sway bar, steering bar, and here's the steering rack. Getting it bolted onto the subframe, back to the position. Had to line it up just right and jack up the subframe. 3 bolts, and it came with new bolts. So had to throw the old ones out and replace those. It was kind of a mess to line it up. There's the new bolts and the old bolts. They each got their own bag too, which is great for those bolts. Have their own privacy. Unbolting these, the part I forgot to show in the first video. Now, lining up the... Oh, I dropped my phone right here, but I caught it. Look at that. My phone probably would have survived. It's pretty durable. But lining up the lower control arm with the ball joint, that was another making sure that everything lines up right. Passenger side, driver's side. So I was actually stepping on the jack to jack it up while I'm lining it up. So there it is. Those nuts had to be replaced, by the way. I had to throw out the old ones, reinstall new nuts for the lower ball joint and lower control arm as I was lining it up there. Now, also having to line this up, that top rod that comes down, that came with new nuts as well, and making sure everything lined up, and I did not, again, damage the vapor tube as I was putting everything together. Very important. Trying to figure out how that thing bolts on and where it goes. I couldn't quite remember how the tube went, but then I remembered I take pictures and I do videos. So there I went back in time and I saw the way that goes underneath the cat and around. So that also has to be mounted to the subframe on the back there. So getting everything mounted up to the subframe that will reach, and then lining everything up. So these were kind of a challenge. Those had to be replaced as well, but getting them to line up through that rubber joint there. And these were helpful too. You can also buy these in the description below. These lights are the same brand that Matco and Mac Tools use. It's just much cheaper. It's actually made by the same company, so just not the brand name on it from the tool truck that costs an extra $50. So yes, there's the old bolt. Getting that one out and putting new ones in. Just had to keep moving them around. Adding that really helped me get some leverage to move that joint back and forth there with a lower control arm. Rubber joint. Had to give it a big forceful yank and it came right out. Out with the old and in with the new. Here's the new subframe lower control arm long bolt that went all the way through. And now I was ready to raise that up with the holes in the frame to line up that subframe. Also needed to put the sway bar in, and those came with brand new bolts right there. All the sway bar bolts, the new nuts for the lower ball joint, lower control arm where it attaches to the wheel there. The other nut that goes up there on the subframe. So 2 new nuts on each side. Getting these tightened and torqued down. 13 millimeters. There's my 13 mil. And that guy there was a specialty bolt, different than what was in there before. 21 millimeters in order to tighten those bolts. It was harder to get an impact in there, but tighten those up and on. And then tightening these up and on. This holds up the brace, that center brace for the transmission, and also has a extra arm on it, I think, in case of a accident or something. It keeps that. And then this attaches to the front bumper, which is interesting. So the front bumper is braced by the subframe. And then lining all those up and bolting it together. Those did not come with new bolts, so just use the old ones on that bumper apparatus, whatever it is. Here's the sensor that goes there. That's upstream. And that was the last one I did of all those sensors, where they plug into. That top one plugs in right in front. And yeah, that's where that other top TGR sensor goes. Temperature regulating sensor. 13 millimeter. That's how I tightened that puppy down. This sensor mounted up top, and then I had to find the pigtail and plug it in. And then it also had a grounding nut that had to be grounded out, right there to this little device right here. Again, these lights were really good for even that, you know. I thought it'd be just for being under something, but it's much like a headlight. It hangs around your neck. You can point both of them in different directions, and it's great for doing stuff like this as well. So here's the lower TGR sensor that came in, and connecting that right there where it goes, torquing it down to whatever the torque was, 25 inch-pounds. I don't remember. There's torque specs for all these, but you got to get good enough tight in some of these situations. You're not going to fit a torque wrench down there. And here we are in the home stretch. I bolted up the steering wheel to the rack. Discard the old steering bolt, install the new one. And that's right. And now I'm on the test drive. So far, so good. No codes have popped up yet. We're in I think 3 or 4 miles so far. Making sure I don't get any codes. Don't forget to subscribe, and why not watch another video? Stick around!